Now we will learn about the primary auditory area, that is area number 41 and 42. It is located in the inferior wall of the lateral sulcus. Inferior wall of the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So this is the posterior ramus, inferior wall. So this is the area of primary auditory area. More specific we have to say then we can say it is lying on the superior surface of the superior temporal gyrus. In this we have learned about the anterior and posterior transverse temporal gyrus. Anterior transverse temporal gyrus is also known as Hessel's gyrus. So in this Hessel's gyrus there is a area area is located. Primary auditory area receives input from the medial geniculate body through auditory radiation. Medial geniculate body receives input from organ of Corti in the cochlea of inner ear of both the side, but mainly it receives input from the opposite side. So this area is concerned with the reception of isolated impression of loudness, quality, pitch of the sound. In addition, it also picks up the source of the sound. Lesion of this area, or we can say lesion of this primary auditory area, on one side it produces slight bilateral loss of hearing because it receives auditory input from both the ears, but the loss will be more on the opposite ear. If there is a bilateral lesion of this primary auditory area, it will result in complete deafness. Now another area is a secondary auditory area, or we can also say auditory association area, area number 22. This secondary auditory area, it is situated on the lateral surface of superior temporal gyrus. So this is superior temporal gyrus. So lateral surface, so here will be the secondary auditory area. It receives input from the primary auditory area. It also correlates them with the past auditory experience. Thus, this area is necessary for the interpretation of the sound heard. If there is lesion of this area, it results in inability to interpret the meaning of the sound heard, and patient may experience word deafness, or we can say auditory verbal agnosia. Now we will see the functional area in the occipital lobe. In that we will first see the primary visual area or striate area, or area number 17 of Broadband. This area is located in the wall and floor of the posterior part of the calcarine sulcus. This is calcarine sulcus. This is the posterior part of calcarine sulcus. So in the wall and floor of this sulcus, there is a location of this area. This area also slightly extend on the superior surface, supralateral surface of the hemisphere near the occipital pole. The most marked structural feature of this area is presence of white stria. It is also known as visual stria of Gennari, hence it is known as striate area. Visual cortex receives efferent fibers from lateral geniculate body via geniculocalcarine radiation. Visual cortex receives fibers from the temporal half of the same-sided retina and nasal half of the contralateral retina. Thus, right half of field of vision is represented in the visual cortex of left cerebral hemisphere. It is also receiving impulses from the superior retinal quadrants, which is representing the inferior field of vision, and past the superior wall of the calcarine sulcus, and while from inferior retinal quadrants it is passing to the inferior wall of the calcarine sulcus. Macular area, which is the central area of the retina, and it is having highest visual acuity, has large cortical representation, and it is occupying the posterior part of the visual cortex. Primary visual area, it is mainly concerned with the perception of color, size, form, motion, and illumination and transparency of object. Lesion of this area, it results in loss of vision in the opposite visual field, or it is also known as crossed homonymous hemianopia. Unilateral lesion of the superior wall of the postcalcarine sulcus results in inferior quadrantic hemianopia. The most common cause of these lesions are vascular accident, tumor, and injuries from the gunshot wounds. In all these injury of the visual cortex, there is a sparing of macular vision, because macular area it is having large representation and it is occupying most posterior part in the visual cortex. So lesion has to travel more from anterior to posterior. So visual area, macular area is spared. Secondary visual area or visual association area, that is another area number 18 and 19. Secondary visual area or visual association area. This secondary visual area, it surrounds the primary visual area and it occupies most of the remaining visual cortex on the medial and superolateral surface of the cerebral hemisphere. So around here there will be the secondary visual area number 18 and 19 that we will see in the figure also. This area receives afferent fiber from the primary visual area. It relates the visual information received from the primary visual area to the past visual experiences and enable the individual to recognize and appreciate what he is seeing. So this area is responsible for recognition of the object seen. And lesion of this area, it results in inability to recognize the object, which is known as visual agnosia in the opposite field of vision. Now another small area that we will see, that is taste area or gustatory area. It is located in the inferior part of the parietal lobe, posterior to the general sensory area for the mouth, or we can say in the lower part of the postcentral gyrus, in the superior wall of the lateral sulcus, or in the adjoining area of the insula. So so this area, this is the central sulcus, postcentral sulcus, this is postcentral gyrus. So somewhere here there will be the facial area. So nearby this facial area, this area is located gustatory area, and Brodmann has given this area number 43. Now vestibular area, it is also located near that part of postcentral gyrus which is having sensation of face. So again facial area here. So nearby there is a vestibular area. No number is given. Now this is the parahippocampal gyrus, inferior surface of the cerebral cortex. This is parahippocampal gyrus and this is uncus. Now one area, that is olfactory area, that is area number 28. It is located in the anterior part of the parahippocampal gyrus and uncus. So this is the olfactory area. So now we will see this area in the book picture. So we have learned area in the frontal lobe. These are primary motor area, precentral gyrus, area number 4, premotor area number 6, frontal eye field, area number 8, inferior frontal gyrus, area number 44, 45, motor speech area of Broca. This is postcentral gyrus, area number 312, primary sensory area number 5 and 7 in the superior parietal lobule. These are the supramarginal gyrus, angular gyrus, area number 39 and 40, sensory speech area, vernix area. This is superior temporal gyrus. In the superior surface of this gyrus, there is a primary auditory area number 41 and 42. On the lateral surface of superior temporal gyrus, there is area number 22 or secondary auditory area. In the visual cortex or in the occipital lobe, there is the primary visual area number 17, that is partly extending on the superolateral surface but is mainly seen on the medial surface, that will be see. Rest of the area number 18 and 90, they are visual association area. Now on the medial surface, first we will see from the posterior side. So this is the posterior part of the calcarean sulcus, area number 17. Surrounding it there is area number 18 and 19. This is area number 28, parahippocampal gyrus and uncus, that is olfactory area. Here there is a paracentral lobule. In the anterior part of paracentral lobule there is a motor area. Posterior part it is sensory part. This is the figure of sensory homunculus. In this sensory homunculus, upper body is represented upside down, that means leg, foot, perineum is occupying upper part. Face, tongue, larynx, pharynx, they are occupying in the lower part, and lips, tongue, fingertips, they have large area of representation in the postcentral gyrus. Leg, feet, perineum, they have small area of representation in the postcentral gyrus. So this is all about the cortical areas.